stand up for Pledge Allegiance, please? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome everyone to the meeting of June 16th, 1992. We're almost halfway through the year. How we made it, not sure. Joe, you want to call the first item, please, on the agenda?
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I always forget to call the roll. I assume everybody's here and everybody knows it. Go ahead, call the roll, please.
Mayor?
Present.
First Ward? Here. Second Ward?
Here.
Third Ward? Here. Fourth Ward?
Here.
Fifth Ward? Present. Sixth Ward?
Here.
All present, Your Honor.
Thank you. The first item on the agenda, Alderman Ross Belfiore is going to give us a report on the mayor's conference that he attended. It was under the auspices of the New York Conference of Mayors, which is a very worthy and edifying conference. I, unfortunately, was unable to attend and hope to attend another this fall. Ross was there, and he'll tell us what it was about and what he learned. Ross?
As a service to the community, I feel as if since the city of Fulton did pay for my expenses, that I owe it to you to let you know what happened there. What I'm going to do is just highlight a few of the things that I recognize that worked for other municipalities, villages, and towns. I'm not going to go into a lot of specifics because it would take too much time, but I have a lot of information to share with the mayor and my fellow councilmen. Mayor Villette, fellow councilmen, and citizens of the city of Fulton. As a recent participant and representative for the city of Fulton at the New York State Conference of Mayors, I would appreciate this opportunity to share my thoughts and vision for our city. I would like to begin with a quote from Daniel Webster. "Let us develop the resources of our land, call forth its powers, build up its institutions, promote great interest, and see whether we also, in our day and generation, may not perform something worthy to be remembered." When I read this quote, I was able to relate to the mayor's conference and the task at hand that is a challenge to every municipality across New York State. It was reassuring to know that we do not stand alone with the problems that face our city. Yes, these are the worst of times, but also the best of times. Because of the financial burden on all cities, towns, and villages, we are at a point in history that every decision made forces us to become more creative, and thus these decisions become more meaningful. In order to make meaningful decisions, we need to establish goals and priorities. We can't get there if we don't know where we're going. Unfortunately, we cannot continue to provide services people want at the price they are willing to pay. It is a matter of survival that the city of Fulton look towards shared services and shared costs. The city of Fulton has a strong industrial sector compared to the region as a whole, but we lack the ability to generate enough tax dollars to support our community. Based on recent studies, we desperately need to move towards reevaluating our tax rolls and take some of the burden off industry. Lifting the burden from industry is only one viable answer. This area needs new money, new faces, and most importantly, new development opportunities. We have available to us a community development agency that, along with grant money for low-income housing, needs to develop a plan through urban development that could potentially stimulate growth along our waterways and bring life back to vacant properties. Fortunately, the director, Carol Rutledge, has that vision in mind. The continuation of our local government is caught up in two key words: cooperation and consolidation. Those cities that are moving forward are doing so through shared municipal services. Focusing on shared services would generate revenue and would be a cost savings to our city. We need to establish management assistance and guidance programs which would help us to focus on the direction and establish a plan of action to implement our vision. We need a plan for fill-in administration. We need to fine-tune a position before appointments are made in order to minimize future problems. We need to work more closely with community development, not only in the area of housing, but include parks and recreation and special project planning. We need to establish a better system for personnel administration. Our city has been suffering with this headache since my first day in office. In summary, our goals should focus on a clean environment, no toxic waste, quality education for all, no crime, good jobs, and comfortable homes. As long as we have hope, we have direction, and the energy to move and the map to move by. We have 100 alternatives, 1,000 paths, and an infinity of dreams. Hopeful, we are halfway there. Hopeless, we are lost forever. Let us take up the banner and make Fulton a city of the future.
Thank you, Ross. That was well said. Next, the first item on the agenda is the bids for tree and stump removal.
First bid I have, Your Honor, is from Lewis Tree Service in Rochester. Figure out how to open it. Okay, the council has a sheet that they can go by. Their lump sum bid is $28,350. Now, the additional unit price per extra tree, 0 to 12 inches, $90. 13 to 24 inches, $225. 5 to 36 inches, $410. 37 inches diameter and above, $750. And finally, price per extra stump is $115. Second bid I have is from Nelson's Tree in Nedrow, New York. They only put a bid on stumps only, and that was $6,000. And they also put a bid on price per extra stump, $120.
Thanks.
They did not bid on it. They bid on stumps only.
Stumps only?
Yeah, $6,000, and they bid $120 per price per extra stump. They did not bid on the trees.
Okay.
The last bid I have is from Area Line and Tree Company, Seneca Falls, New York.
There is another sheet in there. Right under my nose, I think.
Okay, their bid, lump sum bid was $21,369. 0 to 12 inches, $168. 13 to 24 inches, $336. 25 to 36 inches, $504. And 37 inches and above, $630. And $96 unit price extra stump. These will be referred to the Engineering Department, DPW Commissioner, for the review to be returned to the council their next regular meeting of July, I believe it's 7th. Do you have a motion?
I'll move it.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next item, please, Joe.
Second item I have is a bid for the library repairs to the roof. I only have one bid, and that's from Grassroots Construction, Syracuse, New York. They have a lump sum bid of $5,410, and these will also be referred to Omega Design for their recommendation to come back to the council at their meeting of July 7th. A motion, please?
I'll move it.
Second.
All in favor indicate by aye.
Aye.
Opposed by no. Carried. 3, please.
Resolved that the report of the receipts and disbursements for the city clerk's office for the month of May in the amount of $6,008.59 be received, approved, and placed on file.
I'll move it.
Second.
All in favor indicate by aye.
Aye.
Opposed by no. Carried. 4, please.
Resolved that the mayor be and hereby is authorized and directed to sign an application to the Office of the Aging for the City of Fulton Recreation Program for 92-93.
Motion, please.
Move it. Second.
All in favor indicate by aye.
Aye.
Opposed by no. Carried. 5, please.
Whereas Douglas Morton and Rebecca Kamenak wishes to sell their property located at 6-8 Whitaker Road, and where it has been determined that a portion of Harrison and North 8th Streets are within the boundaries of subject property. Whereas at the council meeting held on June 2nd, the proposed amendment, abandonment, and quitclaim deed was forwarded to Ronald Edick of the City Fulton Engineering Department for his review of the survey legal description. And whereas by letter dated June 5th from Ronald Edick to the City Attorney Spencer Luddington, that Mr. Edick has reviewed the survey and the portions of Harrison and North 8th Streets and find them clear of any utilities, and that the street right-of-way measurements are correct. Now therefore be it resolved that the abandonment of Harrison and North 8th Street, as described above, is hereby approved. Be it further resolved that the mayor is authorized and directed to sign a quitclaim deed pursuant to the resolution for abandonment for the property as described.
Motion, please.
Move it.
Second.
All in favor indicate by aye.
Aye.
Opposed by no. Carried. Next item.
Whereas a meeting of the council held on June 2nd, the city clerk was authorized and directed to advertise for a public hearing for June 16th at 7:30 p.m. in the council chambers relative to a proposed amendment to Chapter 37 of the Fulton City Code entitled Alcoholic Beverages, which would effectively eliminate consumption of alcohol on city property. The hearing is now declared open.
Let me say before we get into any public discussion, there's some misunderstanding that this amendment is going to also eliminate any waivers, and that's not true. The procedure for waivers and application for any event that individuals or organizations wish to hold in the city, same procedure has always been followed by an application to the city clerk and submission to the chief of police and to me for approval. And this procedure will continue. This amendment is to cover areas in the city that previously had not been covered through an oversight, apparently, because the intention, I know originally, was to prohibit the imbibing of alcoholic beverages on any city property, and this will take care of the oversight. Any comments? Yes.
Is that the case in all the parks in the city of Fulton, that there will be no alcohol beverage in any of the parks?
That's right.
Area, Buckner Park, or any of the parks?
That's right, without a waiver.
Your Honor, may I say something?
Yes.
I'm not in favor of this at all. I believe that the government should stay out of the privileges of constituents and people that want to go to our parks for a family day or something of that nature. I think that people should be able to go there and have a beer or two and have a picnic or do what they want to do in the parks. And I think that the government should stay away from this one.
I think that what John has in mind is what was true in the past, because I remember very well when this was the case. The average person could go to a park, could have a family picnic, could have a few beers without any problems resulting. Unfortunately, I don't think that's true anymore. We not only have fracases that emerge because of drinking, we have drugs that are also involved, and I can tell you from experience, my term as a judge, that they too often are mixed by people of all kinds. And we've had a lot of problems in the parks with drinking, intoxication, fights, rowdiness, insulting language, obscene language, littering the area with beer cans and other trash. It isn't that simple anymore. And of course, the liability problem is a very serious problem. You're all aware, I'm sure by now, of the verdict against Saga County. $5 million the county's got to come up with. I think they had $1 million coverage. They're going to dig $4 million out of their own pockets. To the city of Fulton, if that happens, that would mean an increase of $200 per 1,000 assessed valuation. So the person, let's say, whose property is assessed at $3,000 is going to come up with $600 a year to pay off that judgment. Now, if that's what everybody wants, if that's the risk you want to take, And you also want to be concerned about the problems of vandalism, rowdyism, and everything else that I've already mentioned. Fine, that's your choice.
My question to you, Your Honor, is why should a select few ruin it for the majority?
Well, that's your opinion, John. I don't think it's that simple. Yeah.
Your Honor, my name's Phil Blair.
Yes, Phil.
I believe there's laws in the books pertaining to public intoxication, correct?
There isn't any law against public intoxication. That was eliminated years ago.
Okay, how about disorderly conduct?
Very
How about
di-
underage drinkers?
Very difficult to prove.
How about sale to minors? You know, 90% of the problems generated in our public park system is done by, I would say, minors, people under the age of 21. What you're doing is penalizing the people of the city for property they own because of a few rowdy people. And I don't
Phil,
believe
if
that's
you're
right.
under the illusion the only people that drink to excess are minors,
No, I'm not
I think
saying-
you ought to visit a few bars around town.
I've been in a few bars, believe me.
So have I.
I know. But what I'm saying is the parks are property of the people of the city of Fulton. The government has reached a point where they're depriving the people from use of their own facilities for which they pay for. We have a campground over there that is closed. Nobody can use it from the city. We have a beach over there that is closed. Nobody can
The
use it.
beach isn't closed. Where'd you get that impression? You talking about the public beach or the
Yeah.
campground? That
Public
beach
beach.
isn't closed. It isn't, simply isn't open yet.
Oh, it isn't open yet. Okay. We're going to open it?
Sure.
We're going to open the campground?
No, I can't afford to.
Why don't we lease it?
That's something that's under consideration.
Or are we going to let it sit there for a couple of years and decide it's unworthy property and sell it?
Phil, do you want to come up with the money? Do you want to come up with the money to fix it, to open it up? We don't have that
You want to
money.
lease it?
You want to lease it?
Yeah, I'll lease it.
Got a bond?
$5,000?
Well, whatever. We'll be glad to discuss it with you. Any other bids? You know, I want to tell you one story that I told to the chamber in our preliminary discussion. Quite a while ago, I represented a person charged with DWI in manslaughter who killed a young man in his 20s as a result of the accident that ensued due to his drinking. I went to talk to the father in my naivety in an effort to get him to agree to a reduction of the charge of manslaughter to drive while intoxicated. And I'll never forget the look on that man's face. And I'll never do it again. That was his only son. Now, if you people think it's worth that, if you think it's worth the carnage on our highways that result from drinking, and you want to ignore that and close your eyes to it and say it can't happen here, and of course it does and can happen, that's your privilege. But
Mayor-
don't ask me to support it because I won't and I can't.
Mayor, those things happen. They happen on jobs. People get killed on jobs. People get hit on a...
Are you condoning...
Old people get hit
accidents
on the
due-
road walking across
Are you
Broadway.
condoning accidents due to drinking, Phil?
I'm not condoning.
Certainly what it sounds like to me.
I'm saying it happens. You're not going to stop it, and I'm not going to stop it. It takes years of education and training of these kids.
All right. Well, that's a little different than somebody who slips and falls on a banana peel.
But
Okay.
what we're
Let's
talking
let
about
the
here
next...
is drinking.
Phil, I ain't going to stand here and argue with it about it. You and I can have a debate about it
Right.
sometime personally
What
if you
we're
like.
talking about
But
is-
I'm not going to take the time of people here
What
to
we're-
debate it.
What we're talking about is drinking on city property. Am I correct in assuming that the city property belongs to the people of the city of Fulton?
Well, of course that's true. You know it.
All
and I
right,
know
are
it.
you going to deprive the people that use it properly of using
If it means saving somebody's life, saving somebody from permanent injury for the rest of their life, and saving the carnage on the highways, absolutely. Yes, I am.
You're going to close all the bars too, right?
I'd be in favor of that, too. Yeah.
Well, I don't believe you should deprive the people of the city of Fulton use of...
Phil, if you want to make a speech, why don't you release an article to the paper, okay?
Because this is where it's open for discussion.
Well, it is, but, you know, not interminably. Yes, Betty?
I'm Betty Kramer, and I've been a committee person in the city of Fulton for a good many years, and I resigned a few years ago because my husband retired. But I also have a summer home in Oswego, and they have had the open container law closed for a good many years, and it has worked because I've lived down there for 4 or 5 months every summer. And the only time they release it and let them drink is during the 4th of July parade and Haverfest. There is no drinking on the streets. There's no drinking on the streets or you are picked up. And it's worked, and I've had my home down there since 1967, and it can work because they're inside, and they've got a college there with how many children?
Quite a few.
And they are not, you don't read about them in the papers all the time causing a lot of problems, and they're all over those streets, but they're not out there drinking. They are learning an education to go to help job things. These other kids in the city of Fulton are drinking on the streets, they're in the bars, they're in the parks, they're not where they're supposed to be.
In the schools, too. As a matter of fact, many municipalities have banned all alcoholic beverages in city parks.
Okay, I'd like to make a comment.
Sure.
Would it be possible to run the parks like the state park system where you limit the drinking to just the picnic area and not bring it down to the beach area, which would be more controlled? Because the only problem I have with it, if we're going to eliminate it there, then we're going to have to start enforcing the law a little bit more at these apartment houses where people are rolling out on the sidewalks almost every night drunk.
Yeah,
They're not?
they're allowed
Okay.
just in the Grove.
Not on the beaches. They're allowed in the picnic areas. Right, that's what I said.
Your Honor.
So restrict it to the picnic area where the picnic tables are and do not bring it down to the waterfront. And I could see why it would be dangerous to go in the water when you're drunk. You might not come back. You have to save them before they drown.
If my lifeguards notice that someone is inebriated, they aren't allowed in the water anyway. They have to stay away from the beaches because they're allowed.
And possibly maybe try it for the month of July and then get a report from the police department if they find there are a lot of abusers.
Well, that's already permitted anyways, because that's why, probably why Foster Park and the picnic area and Recreation Park were omitted in the first place. So
Your Honor.
if that's the council's desire, all they got to do is defeat this,
Your Honor, those 3 areas that you just mentioned are reserved from the open container law?
yes, 2.
2 areas?
Yeah. What's the other one?
3 areas?
Oh, I take it back, Van Buren was also included.
3 areas.
Anyone, Ross?
No, alcohol beverages allowed in this park, and they never had no problem in Syracuse that I know of, unless it's been told by the police if there's a problem. That's where you gotta stop. You gotta put a sign at the front of the park and in the back of the park, not these little signs, because we can't see where you look at it.
Yeah, it isn't really a question anymore of depriving anyone of their rights and wanting to keep people from enjoying their picnics and everything else. It's just purely a question of survival of the cities, really. It's part of what it's all about, as well as eliminating the drunken drivers. Let's face it, the people that come to these parks, they don't walk over there, they drive. And if they're drinking, it doesn't take a heck of a lot to impair your driving ability, believe me. And that means that they're drinking, they're going to be driving under the influence. And, you know, somebody is going to suffer. The law of averages will show you that every time. And then the city faces the possibility of a lawsuit. And I tell you, it's gotten to a point where the risk isn't worth the candle.
Yeah, but what about if they're not drinking in the park?
You want to stand up, please?
If they're not drinking in the park, they're probably into these shopping centers and stuff drinking. They're gonna be drunk anyhow, they're gonna be out there, if they're bound to get drunk, they'll be down here to the Fulton Shopping Center, which I come home from work at 11 o'clock at night,
Well-
see cars and everything down there. We're still liable for that?
No, we only have jurisdiction over city property.
Well, it's city property, our parking,
Parking lots?
yeah, that's city.
They're drinking in our parking lots?
Yeah, I've gone by.
Do you report it to the police? Do you report it to the police?
I reported it to the police because.
Why not?
Why? They probably can't do nothing anyhow.
Why not? Sure they can. It's a violation.
Police on different things and they haven't done it.
I don't believe that.
Well, I don't care whether you believe it or not, I know. For a fact, and I've been here for 54 years.
Almost as long as I have. Yes. I doubt it. Thank you.
What's the difference from me drinking in the park and getting hurt and suing the city, or me drinking at home, walking to the park and falling down and getting hurt and suing the city? Is there a difference?
Yeah, sure. If the city allows drinking in the parks and a person gets drunk or even under the influence and then is driving and someone is hurt, or if there's a fracas right there in the park, yeah, then the city has some responsibility.
Good. My question was, if I drank at my house, went down to the park and walked the dog or something, I fell down and got hurt through the city, what's the liability there? I didn't drink in the park.
Well, that isn't exactly. Well, let me give you an example of what happened in Onondaga County. I'll give you some idea of what it's all about. This man was drunk, and he was driving down the street, and he was so drunk that he didn't see a hole in the road. He hit the road hole, and then his car went out of control. There was an accident. So they sued the county and the driver, the person who was, well, I think there were two of them that were crippled for life. And the city was held 20% accountable as a result because of the hole in the road. Now, you want to know what the connection is. Well, the connection is if the man hadn't been drunk, he wouldn't have hit the hole in the road. And that's the kind of thing that can occur not only in streets but in the parks themselves. Look. That's true. That's true. I agree. I agree. Yes.
How are you going to enforce it? Not drinking all over. Right now, there's no drinking in the ball field, but most people go over and see a case of beer in the ball field.
Well, it'd be no different enforcement than it is now. Simply extends the, it's just, well, I can't patrol the city. I wish I could. No, it would simply extend the ban to all city property, that's all.
I'm just afraid of it becoming, number one, selective enforcement. Like if we don't see it, we don't look at it. The other thing that bothers me, if it's the end of July and it's 90 degrees and you got your family over, a few friends, and your yard really isn't big enough to go out and have a picnic or something in the backyard, and they want to enjoy one of our parks, how do they obtain the waiver, like on a Saturday?
Well, yeah, things that bothers me is that it seems like so many people think that beer is the only form of liquid refreshment. I always thought there were other forms, but then maybe. I suppose my experience as a lawyer and judge and seeing the misery and the tragedy that's caused has made me feel more strongly at people who haven't been exposed to that or haven't had a tragedy in their own families don't realize there's a problem. It's like a lot of things. You don't know why you need insurance until you have an accident, and maybe you don't have it, then you wish you had it. So perhaps that's the reason why I feel differently about it. But if the council doesn't agree, of course they don't have to pass it.
The only question I had was like getting the waiver on a Saturday or Sunday or something.
Well, Jim, you can always find a reason why something won't look hard enough. There isn't a law made that is perfect in its application by the very nature of the beast, because people are people, and there are going to be exceptions and there are going to be problems. It isn't the perfect law, and I don't pretend that it is. But, again, if you prefer not to pass it, fine, that's your privilege.
Your Honor, I have a question to ask of the police chief as to what kind of problems he sees the way it presently is.
Yeah, there's a road. I don't think there's nothing that stands out. It's just normal types of complaints, fighting, things that are related to drinking, but they aren't always initiated at the parks. Maybe they've drank there and then they go somewhere else, go home, and argue and have a problem with it. But there's nothing really that stands out. There's an exception to all the rules as far as any major problems. A couple years ago, we had an officer, his jaw broken over there, trying to enforce the liquor container law. But nothing stands out in my mind that I'm aware of anyways, that might assist you in making a decision. I don't think
Chief, how about the brawl they had with the ball players at the game when they had the field? Did you hear about that one?
Brawl with who?
Ball players. Right at it. Because you know why? The organization should, if they want to have this thing, the organization should be made responsible for controlling their alcohol problem, like we did back in the 50s and 60s. There wasn't no drinking because it was controlled by the softball board. Nobody wants to take the responsibility of doing it.
Ross, that isn't what's before the council. Hey, hey.
The major problem might be a recreation park. That's where a lot of young people congregate around the ball fields and they drink and race games. And now it's prohibited drinking around there. They have to be in the grove area. And I'm in the process of making some signs up for people that aren't aware that it's prohibited drinking there. Mr. Cotton mentioned something about people up in the stands at the ballpark. Maybe these people aren't aware of it. I want to post those stands so that they are. The signs that are there now were put up some time ago, and they face inward in the grove area. You can't see them as you're in any other part of the park. So I want to try to correct that as well. There's things we can do to try to make it better, but that's the part where we had the most problems. Van Buren and Foster, I don't think we really had much of a problem. That helps you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
One more time.
Yes.
I'm at a point in my life where I'm trying to set down some roots and get a little more stable. And I'd like to start giving back to this community what I get out of it. There's a generation my age, we're looking around, we're saying, God, what's Fulton giving to me? Basically, you're just taking things away. You're going to produce a generation of people who cannot give back anything, but we never get anything out of it. By keep cutting everything out of the city, the only people you're going to attract are the welfare people. People that are getting all the free things, free lunches, the free rent, everything like that. That's where we should be working.
What else are we cutting out?
Pardon me?
What else are we cutting out?
More that you can't even go out here and camp.
Yeah.
Okay? You can't drink at the ballpark. Not that I do it or anything. Once in a while, but I don't go down there. But if I want to, I should be able to. Okay? Just cut everything out of here.
I guess it's a strange commentary about things like that. For many years, of course, there was no North Bay, and there was no swimming pools, and there was no hockey rink, and everything else, and people were quite happy to use Fairhaven and Selkirk and other areas that, we're surrounded by rivers and lakes and recreational areas. And now that they are implemented, the minute you restrict any use, even temporarily, everybody gets bent out of shape. Nobody seems to care. The critical position the city is in financially, it's just like you want to stick your head in the sand like an ostrich does and ignore that fact and figure that, somehow it'll work out. And then if disaster does strike, like Nestle or somebody leave because they're sick of the high taxes, then you turn around and say to the city officials, well, why didn't you do something about it? Well, that's what we're trying to do. We're not trying to take anything away from you. We're just trying to reduce the potential liability and costs to the city and potential increase in taxes if we get hit with a large verdict. Betty?
I'd like to comment on that. Now, I raised my girls back in the 60s and 70s, and we had the CYO, the YMCA, and places for dancers. And I was also a chaperone until finally you had to take your life in your hands to be a chaperone because you're going to get beat up or knocked down. And that's why they closed the YMCA. That's why they closed the CYO dances. And the last time my daughter, who's in her 30s now, went to a dance, she was there a half an hour, and she called her father to come and get her, and he had to walk to the door to get her because she wouldn't go out that door. And he got harassed all the way from his car to the door to get his daughter to CYO to bring her home. And he did with your kids. They did. The people in there were drinking, and they were on drugs, and my daughter wanted to get home.
What's it got to do with public property?
She wanted to stay with those kind of people. My daughter didn't. But we have it today in the
Okay. All right. If you want to speak, stand up, please. I'll be glad to recognize you. Yes.
Okay, personally, I think that everyone should be responsible for their own actions. There's no one at the park drinking that isn't old enough to know. Well, I don't know if it's
No, please don't address somebody else. Let's talk to everybody in general.
If something should happen, like if I was drinking at the park and someone came up and clawed me in the face, they were drunk, whatever, I would probably sue that person, not the city. And I think that person should be responsible. And if I'm so drunk I can't walk and I fall, I mean, I should be responsible for that. I personally don't drink.
Believe me, your lawyer would sue the city too. Trust me.
If he was a
I've done it myself many, many times.
I mean, don't you think each person should be held accountable? I mean, if you're drunk over there, shouldn't a police officer be able to know that you're staggering? Or every now and then they could check the people that are there and see who's like totally loaded.
Well, he can't arrest you for public intoxication. There's no law anymore. No, there hasn't been the law for many years. They abolished that law many years ago. No.
Yeah, well, if you're really truly drunk, you're disorderly.
Well, just being drunk, you see, is not disorderly unless you're harassing somebody and causing a real problem.
Well, if there's nobody doing it, what's the problem with getting over there? I've been here drunk, all congregated, over there drunk, going after each other and then have them hanging out, the houses, on the streets, when you try to walk by.
What you're describing is pretty close to the golden rule, but I don't think many people observe it. Because if they did, you wouldn't have the problems that we have, unfortunately. Phil?
Mayor, does anybody know how many minor drinking tickets have been issued by the city of Fulton?
I'm sure you can find that out at the judge's office right across the hall, if you're that interested.
Someone asked me the other day, how come tickets were issued to some kids in the apartment house that were sitting out front drinking?
No, because you can't arrest them for public intoxication. It's that simple.
There's a law, isn't there a state
Ma'am, would you mind letting him finish, please?
law about minorities drinking? Anyone under 20?
Serving minors. Yeah, serving minors are...
Isn't there a law on consumption of minors? Now, I know
Oh, minor? Yeah, minor. It's illegal for a minor under 18 to drink, sure. No, I think it's... Well, maybe it is 21 now. 21?
posted on a bar wall that said there was a law that...
Well, Phil, what is your point relative to this resolution?
Well, the thing is, it seems our problem is just minors drinking, okay? I'm not saying a lot of legal age drinkers aren't causing problems, okay?
Yeah.
But I would say a majority of the problems are caused by the youngsters.
Well, I don't have any statistics to refute that, and I don't know whether you have any or not. I don't have any.
I mean, the thing is, we have a law, if we're not enforcing it, there's too much paperwork for the police force to write up a ticket for these guys to haul them into court and get their parents involved.
So for a long time, I don't know if it's still happening, they had people who were setting up kegs right in the school grounds in the parking lot and selling it to the kids.
Cemetery Hill.
Yeah,
Incinerator Hill up there.
yeah,
I've chased enough kids out of there.
yeah. Well, unfortunately, that isn't the only problem.
Did the city ever address the possible public intoxication law instead?
There is, you cannot. The state has said there is no more public intoxication.
Why can't the city?
Because the state has said you can't do it.
I find it impossible.
Well, get a hold of our assemblywoman or get a hold of our state senator.
What about the people who drink responsibly? You're going to be punishing them too?
Like I say, as far as my conscience is concerned, I don't think it's a good thing. But I'm not the one that's going to make that decision. Yeah, I've just seen, no, I've just seen too many things that have happened as a result of drinking. Yeah. So, I agree with you, and there are a lot of good people that do that, and I think it's unfortunate if that were the law to exclude them. I'm only thinking in the long term about the potential exposure of the city. We can't get unlimited insurance coverage anymore. You know, if we had $5 or $10 million coverage, we wouldn't have any problem. But you can't get it. All you can get is $1 million. And if you get too many claims, you're going to lose that. And, you know, that's a serious concern. Sure, I certainly deplore that fact that it has to cause anybody any inconvenience or more. I'm sorry about it, too. Yes?
Don't we have an open container law? I remember years ago when they passed it in Fulton.
Well, ma'am, if you had been listening, you would have found out that that's exactly what we have. The resolution that's before the council now is to extend that to the 3 parks that were excluded originally. Foster, Recreation Park, Picnic Grounds, and Van Buren Park.
But couldn't they control it, just like you say, into where the ballpark is? So I don't really...
Well, that's what we're trying to do. It gives us a handle on the thing and a way to control it. Otherwise, you don't have any control over it.
Because I thought nobody could have an open beer in the park.
You can in those 3 parks, yes. Yes.
Sergeant, I asked the town council a question. I'd like to know why you want to open the campgrounds. I can't figure that out. You pay me, it ain't making money. That's always been made money. If it hadn't been, everything was sent uptown.
No, it didn't make
Why?
money.
Oh, now wait a minute. I worked there quite a while.
All right.
And when you've got to double up on a lot of campers some years, don't tell me they're not making money. They got to be making money. But I just other question I want to ask.
Yeah.
Why? There's a lot of people who got big boats.
Yeah, what?
And there's no dock down there. They could at least put the dock in so people can bring their wives and mothers down to get in the boat. A lot of them, they can't do it.
Me on the lake?
On the lake, right down there at the campground.
I mean, how big are the boats? How big are the boats? How big are the boats they want to put in?
There's a lot of big boats. A lot of them got
Why? What's the problem with the launch ramp?
you can't bring your girlfriend or your wife.
Well, what's the problem with the launch ramp? I don't understand the problem.
Put the dock in. Why they want to put the dock in? Why can't they put the dock in? Hell, I want to
The dock isn't in yet? The dock isn't in yet?
Not unless they put it in a couple days ago. Is it in? Well, good. I'm glad. That's one thing I want to find out.
Okay. Wish they were all that easy. You're welcome. Anybody else? Yeah. What?
I don't want to run this on any longer than you do. I'd like to see you vote on it, but on the issue of the campground, John, I know if you look at the finances last year, the campground in that area was very close to being in the black. And we thought as a council last year when we did the budgets that if we eliminated the swimming over there, that it probably would be in the black. I think if you looked at raising the camp rates up with what the other areas are around the state, and it's probably maybe charging for one post. I've been over there the last 2 weekends, and there's got 20, 25 cars and trailers there. They're all in there fishing. It's lost revenue.
Dick, we've talked about this quite a bit. What our plan is, I'm organizing a meeting for next week, and we're going to get a few different groups together, and what we want to do is try and upgrade the campground. You're right. We need to raise our rates. We need to charge for boat launching. We need to make some renovations down there. We want to make it a campground that's a campground that can make money and hopefully offset some of the costs of the recreation department, because you make no money on recreation. This is the only way we have to make some money on recreation. So far, the campground has been a break-even at best. What we wanted to do is maybe spend a few dollars, upgrade the campground, upgrade the rates, and hopefully make it something that the city can be proud of and attract some people in there and offset some of the costs for the recreation department. Well, the reason we didn't do it this year is last year it kind of turned into a shanty town down there, and we really don't want that again. We want to make it something that we can attract people that are going to come in here, stay in our campgrounds, go and spend some money in our stores.
John, are you going to look at soliciting some of the city people?
Yes, I was thinking there's a lake group that I'm asking to get involved. There's a Recreation Commission. Some of the council members, and there's some outside people also that have expressed an interest.
Well, wait a minute. Dick, I appreciate your comments. I don't want to open this up to a discussion on the campground. We got a public hearing here on the open container resolution. Anybody have any more comments on that? Yes.
Will they be able to drink in the campground if it's open? That's city property.
No, it would exclude any city property without a waiver. Unless the council decided to exclude it, that would be up to the council. Well, look, we're talking about, something that hasn't even happened yet. If that happens, that'll be the time to address that issue.
No, this is the issue. The issue is whether you can drink on city property or not, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, that is correct. But the campgrounds isn't open.
What about the marina area? We're going to try voters to come in, are they going to be able to drink the marina area? That's city property.
That would be part of it. That would be part of it. No, that's not. No, we don't have any jurisdiction over the boats. Oh, wait a minute. No, that isn't city property. I take it back. That's state property. That's state property. Because the state says we can. We're leasing it. We have a permit, rather. I don't know. Wherever the blue line is, of course, state property on one side, city property on the other. Well, in the first place, we haven't passed this resolution yet, okay? And if it doesn't pass, then it's academic. If it does pass, yes, wherever it's city property, they can't drink. If this resolution passes, yes. Right. Anyone else? Are we all done? Do I have anybody else wish to speak? Public hearing is hereby closed. Somebody want to make a motion or do something? No.
I think we should vote on it.
Well, you got to make a motion. Oh, you haven't read it?
Let me read that.
Maybe that'd be a bad idea. Read it first.
Whereas members of the public and the Common Council have had an opportunity to present written or oral comments on the proposed amendment to Chapter 37 of the Fulton City Code. Now therefore be it ordained that Chapter 37, subsection 37-4 of the Fulton City Code entitled Alcoholic Beverages be amended to read as follows. Amend 37-4C to read as follows. Parks. Possession of an open alcoholic containers with the intent to consume the same and the actual consumption of alcoholic beverages shall be prohibited in all parks. 37-4D, which reads as follows. Consumption of alcoholic beverages in Foster Park. This section, delete 37-4D, which reads as follows. Consumption of alcoholic beverages in Foster Park and Van Buren Park shall be prohibited from 10 p.m. of each day to 8 a.m. of the following day. That will be deleted. Also, to be deleted is 37-4J, which reads as follows. Recreation Park. Notwithstanding subsection 37-4C and D, possession of an open containers with the intent to consume the same and actual consumption of alcoholic beverages shall be prohibited at all times in Recreation Park except for the areas described as follows. A, north border, south line of the pavement of Lakeshore Drive. B, east border, west line of the pavement of William Gillard Drive. C, south border, north street line of Chestnut Street, not open as of March 4th, 1991. D, west border beginning at a point, which point is situated on the north street line of Chestnut Street, which is 365.83 feet westerly from the intersection of the north street line of Chestnut Street and the west line of the pavement of William Gillard Drive as measured along with the north street line of Chestnut Street. thence running north 5 degrees, 20 feet, 8 inches west, a distance of 84.76 feet, to a point thence running north 12 degrees, 23 feet, 53 inches west, a distance of 171.37 feet, to a point thence running north 24 degrees, 50 feet, 51 inches west, a distance of 141.22 feet, to a point which point is situate on the south line of the pavement of Lakeshore Drive. 2. The premises in which consumption shall be permitted is set forth on the survey of Robert M. Burley, dated February 21st, 1991, which survey is on file in the office of the city clerk. 3. Consumption of alcoholic beverages with the above described area shall be permitted between the hours of 8 a.m. and 10 p.m. and shall be prohibited at all other times.
Motion?
I'll move it.
Second?
Second.
A roll call vote, please.
Right. Roll call vote.
First ward.
No.
Second ward.
No.
Third ward.
No.
Fourth ward.
No.
Fifth ward.
Your Honor, all due respect to what you're trying to do and the concerns of the public, we already have an open container law within the city with which there are 3 areas with waivers. One of them, according to Officer Allen, is a major problem area, which is Recreation Park. I think with stronger patrol of the problem area, that we could remain the way they are, and that we would not then be infringing upon the rights of the public. I have to vote no.
Sixth ward.
No.
The motion is defeated.
Item 7, please.
Resolved that the zone change request of Mike Gavrosky, RD 9, Box 97, Fulton, New York, for a change of zone from R2 residential to C2 commercial for his properties, which exist of 4 lots directly north of the canal point for the purpose of relocating an existing electrical repair shop, be referred to the Planning Commission for their recommendation to be returned to this common council at a future meeting.
I'll move it.
Second.
All in favor indicate by aye.
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 Opposed by no. Carried. 8, please.
Resolved that this common council establish a $25 petty cash fund to be used at the City of Fulton Marina.
I'll move it.
Second?
Ross?
Somebody want to second the motion? Oh, I'm sorry. All in favor indicate by aye.
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 Opposed by no. Carried. 9, please.
Whereas the Common Council of the City of Fulton is concerned with dramatic erosion of utility values in the past 3 years as determined by the New York State Division of Equalization and Assessment. Whereas such Common Council sees the need for meaningful change in the stable methodology of valuation on a statewide basis. Now therefore be it resolved that the Common Council of Fulton hereby strongly urges the Honorable Senate and Assembly members of the State of New York to pass enabling legislation to freeze utility values at their 1991 levels.
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
All in favor indicate by aye.
Aye.
Opposed by no. Carried. 10, please.
Whereas the meeting of the council held on July 21st, 1987, a resolution was passed allowing vendors to vendor goods and wares in the area known as Bullhead Point, subject to the vendors obtaining a license from the city clerk's office. Whereas D. Stevens Farm, Oswego, New York, has applied for a vendor's license to sell farm produce from June 16th through June 15th of 93 at Bullhead Point. Be resolved that the council hereby approves the application for a vendor's license by D. Stevens Farms and directs the city clerk to issue said license in accordance with requirements as specified in the Fulton City Code.
I'll move it.
Second.
All in favor indicate by aye.
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 Opposed by no. Carried. For discussion, I don't know, Joe, are you prepared to talk about downtown parking? Is that why you're here? All right, do you want to express your concerns, please? 'Cause we really didn't have it on the agenda, but I see you're here, and if you want to discuss it, I'd be glad to give you that opportunity.
We've had some problems with parking in the downtown area. A lot of customers are complaining about lack of parking spaces. Parking spaces are full, 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning. Right now, there's a 2.5-hour limit. I think with a little enforcement downtown, that might be a problem.
Well, you know, the problem of employees parking and where customers are instead of the designated area, I've already taken up with the merchants. And I've also asked the chief to be more vigorous in enforcement, and I'm sure that the acting chief will also see that parking is more vigorously enforced. If you don't see that that's happening, let me know. But I'm sure you'll find that they will do their best. Yes. Okay.
Okay. My name is Suzanne Bartlett, and I got a problem here, and I think I'm at the right place. Somebody define to me what right-of-way means, please.
Well, right-of-way is a legal description of property over which whoever has the right-of-way, even though they may not own the property, has a right to traverse that property.
They do. In what matter? Is this to make repairs by the city, or...
Wait a minute, Susan. Is this a legal problem, private legal problem?
I'd say it is.
Why would it be a concern of the city?
Well, first of all, I'm going to tell you why. I went to the school the other day to pick up my daughter. To be exact, it was Thursday, June 11th, between the hours of 1:30 and 2:30 in the afternoon. I was driving on Chestnut Street. I observed Mr. Ostrander weed whacking property on one of your alderman's property, Mr. Lincoln's. Are you aware of this, Mr. Lincoln?
No, I'm not.
You're not? Well, Mr. Ostrander, could I ask you to stand up? I have other witnesses to this too, sir. I'd like to know the reason why you were there, why you were weed whacking, when your beach is a mess. You got a park over here by the cemetery that is being utilized every day that isn't even mowed. You're getting paid $27,000 a year to weed whack an alderman's property?
What time of the day was this?
1:30.
I was informed that it was blocking the view of traffic. It was an area that DPW has secured because of...
You belong to the DPW? Since when is your salary coming?
Wait a minute. Let him finish.
Okay.
In that area where the weeds were built up were the areas where we have to knock down.
Oh, I see. Well, then what were you doing by the tree stumps? That's by the roadway?
Wait a minute. Was this in the front of the property?
No, this is on the side of the property. More than 33 feet in, I would say. And to even make matters worse, I don't know why you didn't go over to the unlicensed car that's sitting in that driveway and weed whack under that. Then you proceeded across the street to Mr. Elias's house and did that.
All right, wait a minute. Whoa, a minute. Wait a minute. We're gonna end this right now.
Yes, I hope so, because I want him to come and do
All right,
mine.
if you got a complaint, then I think you should properly write a letter.
I will.
Okay.
But I think that, to me, I'm going to be honest with you, George. Everything that's going on in this city, the cost of the taxpayers right now, the recreation department is a shambles. You know it, and I know it, and so do all you gentlemen.
Write me a
And
letter.
Mr. Lincoln sits up there continuously.
Wait a minute, Susan. Okay. Write me a letter.
I will.
And then we'll be taken care of in the proper channels, and I promise you that I will.
I know you will.
All
No
right.
doubt in my mind. But like I said, $27,000 a year? Wrong. I think that we better take some wages away.
Okay. All right. Under discussion. Item 1.
Grow Tunneling Corporation. is a corporation that will be doing repairs to the canal as well as the locks, and they've requested to Alderman Belfiore by letter from Ron Edick of the engineering department that they are allowed to use the parking lot number 4 located near the Oswego River. They said that they would be willing to maintain it in the wintertime if the council chose them to do so, and they would also produce a certificate of insurance. They were there also when the construction was done in 1986 on the Oneida Street Bridge.
This is they're going to repair the lock, which apparently is badly in need of repair, and the state has decided to go ahead with it finally. And the construction outfit, in order to carry on their work, needs a place where they have to park their construction trailer. They've asked permission to do that in the parking lot next to the locks. Anybody have any comment on it? Mr. Walto, is he here?
Yes.
Yeah. You want to give us more detail on it, please?
Road tunneling is a local contractor right here in Rochester. We're going to be utilizing all union people for this job. Grow Tunneling is a union contractor, and we'll be utilizing all of our help out of the local union halls. This job that's going to take place begins right after Labor Day. It is originally scheduled to complete in the spring of '94. We have submitted a schedule to the state to accelerate and hopefully be done by Labor Day of next year, '93. In order to do this, we're going to need a little bit of space to put down our trailer and some of our supplies and some equipment. We were hoping we could use that parking lot number 4. It's on the northeast side of the Oneida Street Bridge. We don't see it being used a lot, but we came to the council here to ask permission to use that.
Is that going to mean the locks won't be operable next season?
No, all this, the majority of the work will take place during the winter when the locks are closed. We will be doing some work during next summer, finishing up on the approach walls, but the lock will be accessible all during the regular season.
Any questions? Yes.
My understanding is towards city property to park those vehicles, there would be some reciprocal action that Grow Tunneling would do for the city in maintaining and improving the property along the canal.
Yes, there is a retaining wall that's part of the contract. It takes place right from where the wall ends on would be the east side. That retaining wall is all eroded and fallen into the water. We will be removing that and replacing it with riprap and some other erosion control devices. We'll be grading it, removing the guardrail and replacing that. It's all part of the state contract, part of our contract with them.
Is it possible that we could talk about maybe installing some steps that would go from the parking lot under the bridge?
Under the bridge to the current steps that are there now?
Yes.
Yeah, we'll be willing to talk about anything.
If you'd make an appointment with me, I'd appreciate it.
Okay. We'll
Good.
do that.
Thank you. Thanks, Evie.
Resolved that Grow Tunneling Corporation is hereby allowed the use of parking lot number 4 located near the Oswego River under subsection 16534B of the Fulton City Code, contingent upon Grow Tunneling Corporation producing a certificate of insurance to the city clerk, and also contingent upon Grow Tunneling Corporation maintaining said parking lot for snow removal.
Or any other work that needs to be done as a result of their occupancy.
Or any other work to be done as a result of their occupancy.
And motion, please.
I'll move it.
I'll second.
All in favor indicate by aye.
Aye.
Opposed by no. Carried.
I didn't get who moved it. Ross?
Ross, Jimmy, and David second. Okay. Does anyone have anything else they want to bring before the council? Yes. Yes. Yes.
On June 5th, council resolved to put a freeze basically in all positions in the city of Fulton. Basically hire, promote, and assign any person to any job because of fiscal reasons. timetable that you may have. Do you plan on making a charter change? Are you going to eliminate positions? Are you going to reorganize our department? What exactly do you plan on doing?
At the present time, there is some consideration of possible elimination of positions, yes.
Does that require a charter change?
No. The charter, specifically Section 120, permits the council by resolution to increase or decrease either department.
But don't you have to have a public hearing for that in order to change a local law?
We're not changing a local law. The local law, or the charter, permits that change by resolution.
But you don't have to give any kind of notice as to changing a charter, making a charter change?
It's not a charter change.
If you eliminate a position, you will be making a charter change.
No, because the charter permits that by resolution. That's already authorized under the charter. It was done last year. Bill?
Are you going to reorganize the department? Can you tell us that much?
No, we don't have any plans to reorganize. Whether the Fire and Police Commission does or not, I don't know.
Okay, the reason why I'm bringing this up is, you know, we have an agreement of filling positions within 30 days of vacancy.
Yeah.
That will come up first week in July.
Right.
And I'd like to avert any kind of grievance proceeding. If we can get some kind of an idea from the council and from you as to what you plan on doing. That would avert all kinds of legal costs.
That's the only tentative plan to this time.
So you're going to keep it that way.
Well, I think first time what we have to do, the mayor has to sit down with the department heads and talk to them about possible alterations of the departments, you know, looking at ways to save money. And I think that the mayor's got to do that and sit down with them and talk to them and find out their concerns and our concerns and just bring everybody to a head and just let, you know, everybody air their views on the subjects, and then we'll make the decisions accordingly.
Okay, another question. Why are promotional positions effective? If you're going to not replace positions which are vacated, why are promotional positions involved?
Well, promotional positions really aren't involved. That was merely to ensure there won't be any promotions until that decision is made by the council.
And you won't know for what, several weeks, a week, or can you tell me?
Possibly, yeah. A few weeks at the most. Bill?
Mayor, council members, on my way out, as I was leaving this meeting, I was confronted by some people who have formed a committee to open the campgrounds. I have here 95 signatures of people who are willing to donate their time. They have trucks, equipment, sand, bulldozers, anything you need to clean it up, get it straightened up so it can be opened by the 4th of July. I don't know what the legalities are or the
I didn't see it either.
insurance policy would be about having volunteers going in and cleaning it up and straightening it up and maybe even man the booth. But apparently the campground means something to the people of Fulton, and I think it's up to the council to straighten this thing out so we can get it open.
You want to present that to Mr. Crook, please? He's the chairman of the standing committee. Thank you. Anyone have anything else they want to bring before the council? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I was wondering if we could do something about the cat situation in Fulton.
Yeah, that's
in the works.
Yeah.
This has really been bad since last year, and it's not getting any better.
Yes, we're definitely working on it and expect to have something by the next council meeting.
Yeah, but I think what we want to do is we want to advertise for a public hearing, and I think that's what I want to do tonight. And I've talked to the aldermen, and I think that they agree with the concerns of my constituents and their constituents as well. You know, there's a big cat problem throughout the city at various places, and you know, rabies is something that we have to be concerned with too down the road. And I think maybe we should start to get a handle on it right now, and that's why I'd like to move for a public hearing to amend the charter 57.
John, it doesn't require an amendment of the charter. All it requires is a resolution to amend the code.
I think we should have a public hearing because we're elected by all the people. And I think that if they have concerns over this, then they should come at that time.
George, I have 2 cats. I had them neutered and declawed. My one person...
I'm not opposed to this. I've been working with the dog control officer, with the city attorney, and we're trying to come up with an amendment to the code that will handle the problem.
Yeah, I like them.
And, well, I do too, especially cats.
When they got
But
20
we're,
of them in one house,
that's a little much. Right. Yes. Ross, you're a pistol man. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Evelyn Merrill, and I'd like to address the mayor, the city attorney, and the council members in regards to the proposed group home in Raleigh Avenue. On May 29th, the state Supreme Court, John Nicholson, ruled against the city of Fulton in its appeal to stop the group home from opening on Raleigh Ave. This is the second time that the city has been told that you cannot stop this house from opening up.
I'm sorry, stop what from opening up?
The home from opening. I'd like to know what the city of Fulton plans on doing at this point. Do you plan on appealing this decision again? Thank you. Does the city plan on appealing this decision again?
No.
You're not going to appeal it again?
No.
Is this something that the whole council has agreed on, or?
We really haven't talked about it, but in talking to the residents, I don't think there will be an appeal.
There won't be. So I'm to understand that the city of Fulton will not try to fight this group home from opening anymore. Is that right? Okay.
That's right, and that was by recommendation of our mayor.
That was the recommendation of the mayor. Okay. Then I just want to thank you because I know that a lot of people in this city and even communities around here have been really appalled by the way that this administration has treated this issue about the handicapped people in this city. And I really hope that this is true, that you don't try to appeal it again and try to bring some respect back to the city of Fulton.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I'd like to bring up an issue, an incident that happened in my yard this morning. 2 pit bulls were being walked by their owners, and one got loose. Literally, they lost control of these dogs. They attacked the cat, mauled it death to death. I probably won't make it. In any case, we have a lot of kids in our neighborhood, and if we're going to have pit bulls,
Wait a minute, she's in my word.
I really feel we need to do something about the dog code, and that if they're going to walk them on city streets where anyone is able to be attacked, we need to either have them muzzled by law, or they need to be confined in their owner's home. Now, there was a lady walking in the near vicinity of this couple, and according to a neighbor who witnessed this incident, they feel that that woman was in fact the intended victim, but the cat was actually diverted the dog's attention.
Did you report it to the police?
I certainly did, and I even called my alderman.
Yeah. And Joe, you might help me out with this. Joe was the officer that investigated that today, Joe Pappalardo. I'm glad he's here tonight.
On my arrival to the scene,
You want to stand up, please?
the dogs had been taken back by their owner. The cat was in the yard of
My yard, that's right. 360 West 3rd Street.
West Third. There was an elderly lady
Those are my parents. Those are my parents. They took the cat and took the cat.
What happened was the people were walking their dogs. The dog apparently saw the cat, became enraged, and pulled the leash out of the owner's hand and attacked the cat. The 2 owners, they were walking 2 pit bulls. The second owner and the first came over to the cat, took the dog, tried to get the dog off. The second dog then took part and attacked the cat also.
Do you have their addresses, the owners? Did you get those or anything?
That was all where they live on West Broadway.
Did you issue citations?
Are the dogs licensed?
It was unclear as to if there was going to be a proper citation or not.
The dogs were not under control. And a pit bull is a pretty dangerous dog. Frankly, I'd like to see him banned from the city, and I'm a dog lover.
Wishes at the time of the complaint were civil restitution, which the owners of the pit bull said that they were
I want to know who made the wait a minute. I want to know who made the decision not to issue the citation.
If there's something else that's got to be said, I think that at this point I should consult with my chiefs or my PDA president.
Yeah.
Possible charges, and we left it as the officer was going to speak with all the parties involved and see what they wanted to do. Both charges were something that weren't really clear at the time. One was dog at large, and the city code says that if the dog is on a leash, he's not at large. The other was destroying private property.
You know, Chief, this bothers me because here you've got a case of a very dangerous dog. He is loose. He has a leash, but he was no longer under control of the owner. He does damage private property, property that had a right to be there, and no charges are made. And this is why people are upset, and I am upset too. And I think a citation should issue.
I'd like to say one more thing. The cat that was on that property did not belong to the owner of that property. The owner of the cat and that cat belonged on West 4th Street. This incident occurred on West 3rd Street.
It doesn't matter. That cat's private property. Okay? I mean, what do you have to wait for? Until somebody, an individual is savaged before any action is taken?
That cat belongs to a woman who actually lives on West 4th. Her yard and my backyard are joined. She goes to Florida in October, takes her cats with her. She comes back. She just came back maybe not 2 weeks ago. She's here for the summer. The cat has come in all the years she's been going to Florida. That cat comes to our house every day. It stays at our house every day. It likes our yard. We don't throw it out. It's a neighbor's cat.
Well, the problem here is that now the owner of those dogs feels that they've gotten away with something and that they don't have to be accountable. And I think that's the wrong application of the law.
Your Honor, I'd like to add something else.
Yeah.
The officer did not witness this to occur. And it's up to the owner of the property to press charges, and they didn't want to pursue it. If we didn't witness a crime, we cannot make an arrest.
Yeah, you're correct about that.
I'm sorry, but my daughter was attacked twice by Mrs. Pierce's dogs, and she has pressed charges twice. And in April, when she went to pick up my grandson at the YMCA from preschool, she was attacked, and the police were called, and it has yet to come before court, and this was done in April.
Well, is it pending in court? Is it pending in court?
That dog is still loose.
I know, but is it pending? Wait a minute. Wait a minute. All fairness to the police, if a charge was made and it was levied and it's pending in court, they have nothing to do with the disposition.
That dog is loose. There is a leash law in the city of Fulton.
They can't remove the dog. Only the judge can do that. They don't have any control over what happens once a charge is laid against somebody. Then you should talk to the judge. They don't have any control over it.
Who enforces the dog order? Does he enforce the dog?
Once the charge is laid, then it's before the court.
No, I don't mean that, but I mean, who is responsible for enforcing loose dogs or dogs that are uncontrollable or something like that?
Well, it can be done by the dog control officer. It can be done by an officer, as the chief pointed out correctly. If it's witnessed by the officer or by the dog control officer, they can lay the charge. If not, the person who does witness it must make a complaint and sign a deposition.
Wasn't it like a couple of years ago that there was a meeting here about the pit bulls in the city of Fulton?
I don't know. But I'm going to propose legislation.
But it was decided then by the common council and everybody that was at the meeting that pit bulls had to be on a leash as well as muzzled. And if they were in the person's yard, they had to have a 6-foot chain link fence. That was decided here 2 years ago.
I don't know, but I'll check it out.
Can you check that out? Yeah, I got the resolution right now.
When you get a I don't have a dog. When you license a dog, is there a record, a city record of the type
Breed.
of dog?
Yes. I'm going to propose legislation banning pit bulls. I think they're inherently vicious and dangerous. And I've had a number of cases in my office of people have been mauled by them. Yes, dear.
People walk down 10th Street all the time. If their dog's on a leash, take them down to the park, let them off the leash until they get the food, then they put them on the leash, take them home. Down where the children play.
All I can suggest is calling the police. Anybody have anything else they want to bring before the council?
Yes.
Ross?
I'd like to go back to the downtown parking issue. We went from downtown parking to weed whacking awfully quick here. And I'd like to know if Mr. Bergen and Joe and Mary that's here, did you get any satisfaction from what you mentioned about the downtown parking? Were you satisfied with what was said? I don't know. We moved very quickly from that issue. Yes, it was. Did you want to say anything else?
Well, we don't know where that started, Joe. There's nobody in the council or myself that are aware of that until you mentioned it.
No, we would get a notice on that. If there were, we would have to pass that, I imagine.
No. Anything
Mary?
else? I don't understand what you're talking. Yeah. No, they're not allowed to. No, they're not allowed to park there. They have to park in the. I know. Well, that's one of the things that I've taken up with the chief, and he's going to enforce. From parking lot to parking lot.
Mayor, if I could, the one that tries to enforce that, what you find is the people that work down there will go in the morning, they'll watch for us, and they'll shuffle the cars. And it's hard to enforce. It's got to come, the merchant's got to understand that there's a need for parking. And by them parking there, they're eliminating spots. It's a matter of laziness. When it's cold weather, they don't want to walk from the designated parking spots. It's tough to enforce. The merchant's got to realize.
I got a real nasty letter from one employer, one owner, about my letter asking that they, keep the employees from parking where they're customary parking, indignantly denied that any of his were doing it, and this is supposed to be the one that's the worst violator. So I can see where there's a lot of resistance to it. And as the officer pointed out, it's a difficult thing to monitor, and all I can say is if specific people can be identified when they're parking, then we can do something about it.
Your Honor. Your Honor, to
Yes,
answer Joe's question about the 1 hour parking that was bothering so many people, I think what was going on is there were some new parking spots that were opened on First Street, both up by the senior citizens parking and down in front of the Streeterm in Sanford, I believe. And I think there was a sub shop in that area right there. There's additional parking because they found the street to be wide enough to park on both sides. And I think the concern was it parking for shoppers for an hour or 2 hours? And I think that was only a discussion as to what would be at the best interest of the proprietors downtown. And there was no resolution as to what we thought would be the best time. We'd like some input if it would help you, Zenny.
Your Honor,
In reference to what Jeff said about moving their cars around, I talked to one of the policemen last year about that, and the sign says 2.5 hour parking in that lot. If they move from one spot to another, they're still within that lot, and I think they still could be ticketed if they go beyond the 2.5 hours.
Yeah,
if
but I
they go
understand.
from one lot to another, I don't know if...
I understand employees have no right to park at all in those parking lots. So that 2.5 hour shouldn't apply to them at all. If there's an employee car in customer parking lots, then they should be ticketed.
Why can't we issue decals to be put in the windows of employees so we can tell what the cars are? I think with our falling
good
sales
idea.
tax, we need to make sure that we have parking for the customers there.
Good idea.
And that way they would be numbered and the cars would be easily identified.
Say what?
Okay, the decal would also, you'd have to register it on a card with the license plate number. So there'd be two ways to check on it. It works at Oswego County BOCES. Keeps people parking where they should. You can try it.
Chris?
It's an alternative.
One of the problems with that is that it eliminates any employees to shop in the downtown area because it'll be ticketed if they have a sticker on their car. Secondly, I will not request my employees tonight, I have waitresses that are leaving at 11, 12 o'clock at night to walk across Oneida Street, halfway down to Black Blossom with no lighting, walk on the street with anywhere from $200 to $300 in their pocket if they were making tips. We have no way to get to the lower parking lot without crossing Oneida Street and walk through dark wooded areas.
Okay, if there's no lighting there, I can understand why you wouldn't want anybody to do that.
They have to come to work at 4, so at 4 o'clock, which I believe the time period goes from 8 or 6 or 8, whatever the period of time is, they're still in violation, but I cannot, force my waitresses or bartenders to park on the other side of the street. There's no lighting, they've got to walk down through a wooded area to get to a lot, it's a good block and a half away.
I got an idea. Why don't we just raise everything on the east side of 481 and create some more parking?
The idea of the stairs under the bridge will, I think, eliminate a lot of this because it will link the lower parking lot with our parking lot right at the end of the mall area, which would be a great plus, and we'll be able to enforce it a lot better than there right now. To walk up and around is really a long walk through a dark area. So if we can work on getting these stairs in a closed-in, fenced-in area, I think that will help eliminate a lot, and we'll be able to link the two parking lots together.
And additional lighting?
Maybe I could sweet talk the Grow Corporation into it. Yeah. Anybody else?
Your Honor.
Yeah, he had his hand up, Mike.
Some of you know that I've been in Massachusetts. The city I was in, Marlboro, had a similar problem. And where they solved it, because brought in revenue, they brought back the parking meters.
They brought him back? Yeah. Well, might be an idea.
That was a suggestion at the mayor's conference, and then they used the revenue from the parking meters for Parks and Recreation.
Good idea, all for it. Clean up the parks and get...
Clean up the campgrounds. Mike, you had something you wanted to say? Well, you just have to balance these things off as best you can, of course. It's important that customers have parking. I'll admit I stopped driving downtown a long time ago because there wasn't any parking. And I'm sure there are others that share the same opinion, and if the merchants want to take that chance or that loss, well, I guess it's pretty much up to them. The decal thing might work, and parking meters might be an answer, too. I guess that's something the council will have to mull over and make a decision on what they want to do. Anything else?
Joe? Could you read the resolution for a public hearing on the cat?
On the what?
I want to advertise for a public hearing.
Well, you aren't going to call it the cat ordinance, are you?
No, we're just going to amend it from dog
all right.
to animal.
Okay.
Resolved, the city clerk is hereby authorized and directed to advertise for a public hearing to be held on July 7th at 7:30 p.m. in the council chambers of the municipal building relative to a proposed amendment to Chapter 57 of the Fulton City Code titled Dogs.
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Your Honor, before we vote, I talked to Dale Earl this morning, and what I was going to propose, instead of a public hearing, we all know what the problem is, and we all know that the public wants it corrected. Rather than having a public hearing, I'd just soon have an ordinance committee meeting with the city attorney and the dog catcher and as many of the aldermen that are interested.
He had made that suggestion to me, and he said to me too that the best thing to do would be just to take the word dog and put animal in there,
Yeah, but that opens up a whole new ball game when like along the riverbank on West First Street, Your Honor. There's woodchucks and things, and
No, that wouldn't include, we don't have any jurisdiction over wild animals.
No.
By state law,
just as long as that animal is defined.
well, state law excludes wild animals anyway.
Okay.
Every time we have a public hearing, we have to advertise for it, and it costs $200 for that. Like I said, we know what the problem is, and I don't think there's anybody that doesn't want it. It's just a matter of having the city attorney and the dog catcher and the ordinance committee, for example, get together and get the proper wording, and then vote on it the next meeting or when.
Yeah, I agree with Jim. I don't see the need for a public hearing. I mean, the public is going to be aware of it anyway, and of course they have an opportunity to discuss or speak on it, whether there's a public hearing or not. And the cost of publicizing, I don't think in this particular case is really worth it.
Unlike tonight with the alcohol in the parks, we really didn't have a feel for how people felt until after we heard from the public.
Yeah.
But this isn't the case.
Well, perhaps it could be tabled until there is a meeting of the committee that you suggested in the warden and the city attorney. Do you want to make that motion?
To table a public hearing?
I tell you what, I will be the one who directs how the meeting will be run if you don't mind. Anybody can make a motion to table at any time, okay? Yeah. You'd be tabling the public hearing.
I'll move to table.
Is there a second? Well, I guess you don't get a second, Jeff.
Okay.
Okay, now we can go back to, I made the motion and Dave's.
Do you have a motion on the table, John? Do we have a second on that motion?
I'll second it.
All in favor? Well, let's have a roll call vote.
Who seconded the motion?
Dave.
Dave? Okay. First ward.
Yes.
Second ward.
Yes.
Third ward.
Yes.
Fourth ward.
No.
Fifth ward.
Yes.
Sixth ward.
Yes.
Motion is carried.
Okay. Have a we got lots of money, I guess. I have a motion for executive session.
So moved.
Well, I got a couple other things I'd like to bring up, Your Honor. I had a couple concerns from a couple of commercial businesses about recyclables being picked up once a month. And they have a lot of corrugated cardboard, which is recyclable, and they would like to see us revise that, and maybe we could pick it up a little bit more than once a month.
Yeah, there is a problem with especially some of the merchants, and I had a call from Ron Woodard, the chairman of the board for Pathfinder, and he said that if that is continued, he'll have no choice but to hire it taken away by a private concern. We will lose all of those fees, sticker fees. So
I went down to the Housing Authority with the director, John Labode, yesterday, and the trash houses are getting filled up already, so there is a problem there.
Yeah, I don't think there's much question, but then there are cases where that isn't going to be practical because people don't have a place to store all this stuff.
Mayor, may I address the council just for...
Sure.
I was talking with Jimmy yesterday when he came down to the courts to address the recycling problem. I have no problem. Just one more pickup a month, I think, would be suitable for our needs. We have 8 trash houses that fit the needs for 246 apartments now at Pathfinder Courts. Right now, one of the trash houses is half full, and it's been only a little over a week with the recycling. I feel that just twice a month would suit our needs with no problem whatsoever.
Yeah, that's one of the examples that I'm familiar with, and I've had complaints from others. My suggestion would be, if the council wants to do this, is to give me the authority to waive that in certain instances and order pickups oftener than once a month where there's justification for it. Might be something we could try at least for a while and see how it works out.
Do you want to?
That would be what, on a per call basis or something?
Yeah.
Would you want a resolution to that effect, or?
If the council was in accord,
Can we also
maybe you can set up some kind of a schedule once it's determined the real need of these people, and of course, DPW commissioner could.
I would like to offer that if we could.
Can we also designate when it would be, say the third Monday of the month? Because we already do it the first full week.
I don't think I follow you, Jim.
Well, for example, this month we did it the 1st through the 5th or whatever. If we pick up on another day at Pathfinder and at businesses like that, specify of what day. For example, it would be in this case, the 15th of the month, so it would be 2 weeks later. And then 2 weeks after that, you'd be back into July.
But in some cases, they need it every week. See, some people, Murphy's is an example.
Mm-hmm.
She has no storage space.
Right.
And she generates a lot of cardboard cartons.
You know, Bob D's Liquors is another one, you know.
And if they don't, if she doesn't get service once a week, she's got no place to put it.
So you're talking about...
So that's why
one day
I'm saying that you need a flexible arrangement where, you know, I could use my judgment and see what kind of a pattern develops with the cooperation with the DPW commissioner. And then I can report back to the council what's happening, and then perhaps we can set a schedule.
Okay. I just didn't want to see us picking up, you know, Murphy's on Monday and Pathfinder on Tuesday.
No, I agree. Oh, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't do
Okay.
that.
That's
no.
all I had in mind.
Oh, no. Well, there'd be a
Streamline as much
designated.
as we can.
There'd be a designated day for once a week, every 2 weeks, or whatever the need is. Sue?
Yeah, how about homeowners? Are you going to do the same with them? I'd like to know, because I went out and had to buy 2 great big barrels for my recyclables, and I can't even afford the barrels. And I've got it sitting on my back porch this high right now from my neighbors that I pick up around the yard too. So, I mean, I want to know.
Sue, where do you accumulate that kind of?
Very simple. I've got people that live next door to me that set their recyclables out there every week. They get strewed all over my yard from the loose dogs that I'm picking up that the city doesn't enforce to go and give them a ticket when I call and complain. So I want to know, if you're going to do it for Pathfinder, I want you to come to my house. I pay taxes. I had to go out and buy 2 barrels because of this. Why didn't you do it 2 times a week for the whole city? Or 2 times a month? We're just as important as a business. We go downtown and spend our dollars.
Can't argue with you there.
Thank you.
We'll just have to play it by ear until we find out what is the best way to proceed. We have no experience in this, and that's why we're trying to adjust to every situation, and it's going to take time. If you have too big an accumulation of stuff, give us a call. Okay? Bill?
George, is there any way to
what?
I think what would happen there is you'd have a lot of illegal dumping in it, other than recyclables, garbage in general.
We ended up putting locks on all of our trash outdoors because we had illegal dumping. The only people that can get into our trash houses now are the residents of
Do they take it out
Oh, you can take it out to the dumping station and dump it out.
We can, but then what's the sense of having everybody down there buy stickers? Why don't we just go to the private hauler and have our problem solved? Right now, we're a major portion of what the city picks up. We're approximately between 7 to 10% of the generated populace of the city.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about, I'm talking about the individual overflow, okay? You figure out the station and dump it, they don't charge you.
Well, I understand you can take them out to the landfill.
Recyclable material, you can take.
Yeah, there's no charge for recyclable. Okay, do you want to offer a resolution?
Resolved that the mayor be authorized to waive the recyclable pickup as specified in the Fulton City Code on a per-needed basis and direct the DPW Commissioner to make those recyclable pickups by request through the mayor's office.
I'll move it.
Second.
All in favor indicate by aye.
Aye.
Opposed by no. Carried. John, do you have anything else?
Yes, I do. It's come to my attention that we're starting to find a lot of vendors vending in certain areas of the city that maybe we should restrict because of sales tax that like Foster's and the Lock and other places are generating for us when people are putting up hot dog stands across the street from them. I think that we ought to really look at that, because they're, generating a lot of money for the city and kind of restrict people coming into the city to vend to just certain areas of the city.
Has anybody checked to see if they have sales tax certificates? And is it included in the price of the hot dog or the soft drink or whatever? And is there anybody that can check on that?
As a former collector of sales tax, I know that anybody that has a certificate has to display it on public display. So anybody that even goes up to buy a hot dog or buy a hamburger from somebody has to have that certificate on display for the person.
Right, I was just wondering if anybody noticed if these trailers or whatever have them.
Steve,
have
can
their
you check
certificates.
that out and see if these outside vendors have the tax? If they don't, let me know.
I think if you only do it up to 3 days or something, you don't have to have a certificate. Whether it's a Riverfest booth or a lawn sale or something like that. But if you're doing it as a business beyond a certain length of time, you do have to have a certificate.
Well, John, do you want to propose
Just for
a
the one
limit?
event?
You want to limit them to certain areas?
I think we should, but I think we all should sit down as a council and say, hey, and maybe we can sit down with the merchants also and say, hey, which wouldn't interfere with your business and not deprive them of making some money too.
How about a meeting with the Merchants Association?
I think that would be a great idea.
I have another question.
Okay.
I hope you're going to include the community center. When you do this, you have an organization in there that is not paying sales tax, selling hot dogs and everything else under the sun. So what's right, better be right for the rest of the people.
Why,
Going in the that building right now,
who's selling hot dogs over there?
they sell hot dogs, popcorn, pop, all kinds of hockey sticks, this, that, and the other. I think you better include them in it too, please.
In the community center?
That's right.
Probably youth hockey and figure skate.
They do it to raise revenue to pay for their ice time.
But how much revenue are they putting back in the city? I think we're giving them an awful lot right now, aren't we? That building runs in the red, you haven't raised the rates and I don't know when.
We just did, Sue.
How much? I want to know how much an hour.
I can't remember the exact amounts.
Well, is it
Well, why don't you check with it? Hey, Sue, you're familiar with the procedure around here. Why don't you check with the city clerk? He has all those records.
Okay.
We don't carry them in our hip pocket.
I know, I realize that, but what I'm saying is, you don't charge them enough to begin with. I know.
Well, you got to use a little judgment. You know, you're talking about volunteer groups. You're talking about the senior citizens and so on. I mean, how much can you sock these people?
I'm not saying that, George.
You know, one person says we're not doing enough for community. Now you're saying we're not charging enough. It's a little difficult to kind of balance the equities.
People utilizing the building from out of town, if they're not even...
Why don't you check and see what the charges are, and then if you have a recommendation to make, write me a letter. Okay? All right. Yeah. I think it's 3 days, isn't it?
Three times a year.
Yeah. On South Fifth Street? South 4th? 4th and what?
Every weekend, yeah, others let
Steve?
close theirs up.
Will you check that out?
I've already told Steve about that. I've had a call from the hospital about it.
Anybody else?
One more thing. This is final. Just for those people that are in my ward, I'd like to let you know that by my order, Steve Lund is in the process of sending out 71 violations in our ward. So we're trying.
Anything else? Motion to go into executive session.
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
All in favor by aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed by no? Carried.